So if you can imagine that your brain is dancing here.
I had a premonition that we fell into a rhythm where the music don't stop for life. Glitter in the sky, glitter in my eyes, shining just the way I like. If you're feeling like you need a little bit of company, you met me at the perfect time. You want me, I want you, baby. My sugar boo, I'm levitating. The Milky Way, we're renegading. Yeah, 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 yeah. I got you, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. I believe that you're for me. I feel it in our energy. I see it's written in the stars. We can go wherever, so let's do it now or never, baby. Nothing's ever too far. Glitter in the sky, glitter in our eyes, shining just the way we are. I feel like we're forever every time we get together, but whatever, let's get lost on Mars. You want me, I want you, baby. My sugar boo, I'm levitating. The Milky Way, we're renegading. Yeah, 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 yeah. I got you, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night.
Had a
Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You.
minute. We'll go ahead and get started. Thanks so much for joining today, everybody. My name is Melanie Weller, and I am so honored to MC this for Diane. This is super incredibly exciting. We're going to actually first I'm going to look at we're going to open with a little reading from the best-selling book Brain Dance. It's so exciting. Diane hit the best-selling category best-selling in 2 categories today. This book embodies the hope and spirit of a whole new era of brain science, which holds promise for mitigating brain disorders, but also, combined with the ancient wisdom of spiritual practices in the Buddhist tradition, it fortifies the promise of expanding our human potential through self-regulation of emotions and experiencing joy. This will allow us to act towards our employees, children, partners, and coworkers in more skillful, resourceful, and compassionate ways. True challenges make us stronger and clearer about who we are. I hope my story helps you become more informed, stronger, and clearer in your own life, and that it gives you the courage to trust your intuition and dig deeper when events happen that change everything without notice or permission, including the death of loved ones, a pandemic, as well as car accidents. I hope you think about your life differently, especially your brain. I hope you will be more mindful of your brain, how it's working, and how you are taking care of it. I hope the tools and knowledge about the physical and psychological transformations assure you that even when you feel out of control, there are things you can do to change yourself and create better outcomes in life. My wish is that you will view science as our friend and the brain as this magnificent human organ worthy of our great respect. Many of our social maladies are likely to be improved by optimal brain care for all. And if you find yourself in a situation to provide an opportunity to someone who needs a second chance to learn and grow, that you will consider that seriously. I love that part, and I've so enjoyed being able to read Brain Dance in advance, because I specialize in narrative medicine and the vagus nerve through a process I call applied cosmology, really looking at how the cosmos is mimicked within our bodies. And so I do a lot of storytelling for patients, and Diane's book is such a beautiful embodiment of how, when you treat someone's story, sometimes their physical body changes, but when you treat somebody's physical body, sometimes their story changes. But when you treat their story, their physical body always changes. And I really love how Diane's book really embodies that. And our book coach mentor, Sarah Cannell, says that books save lives, and Diane's book is definitely one that will not only save lives, it will touch lives, it will change lives. And so thank you all for being here. And we're gonna bring in Diane here in just a second. And for those of you that maybe don't know Diane as well, I'm gonna brag on her a little more. She's an applied neuroscientist and peak performance coach. She enjoys using a rich array of brain-based tools to help her clients achieve the highest potential. She loves the process of building relationships, understanding her clients' unique styles and strengths, and collaborating to help increase their effectiveness. She's a licensed clinical professional counselor with board certification in neurofeedback and a certified meditation teacher. And she, in addition to having this amazing best-selling book out, and coaching, she enjoys expertise in social media and consults on the topic. But huge congratulations, Diane, for getting on the bestsellers list in 2 categories today. And why don't you share with everybody the names that you were up next to, who else released books today, because it's super exciting.
Thank you. I'm so excited just looking at the people that are here, and oh my goodness, I'm all these people from different parts of my life, each precious person. Oh my gosh. It's really a momentous day. We launched it today, the book, and had actually some books came into the bookseller on Sunday, our neighborhood place that we did this huge campaign for to keep them in business. And I went over there and signed some books, and a lot of friends said that they picked them up, they bought them, and that was so exciting. I posted this morning that you could get it easier and faster on Barnes and Noble, which wouldn't count toward the bestseller, and we still did it. It's amazing to me that in 2 categories, and that's what they do by categories, neuroscience, and the person that released a book was Jill Bolthouse Taylor, who did a book called The Stroke of Insight, which is just a book I loved to pieces, and was something that I had read in putting together my book. And then the person that came out first in the Buddhism category was the Dalai Lama. Which, I mean, we were joking yesterday. It's like, oh, that Dalai Lama, he would put a book out the same time that I'm doing one. And, this will never happen. I'll never get anything in that category. And I don't know how long you have to sit in the category next to the top like that, but I'll take it. And so my publisher keeps sending me these pictures of like, look, you're second, he's first. And it's like, oh, it's otherworldly. So I'm so excited that you're here. We have a video, a thank you video with, I think almost every single person in here is in it. So little cameos and to tell the story of what it was like to do this. And it just takes a village, and you're my village, really.
Great. So we're going to go through just a little interview first, and then we'll show the video and have some question and answer afterwards. And we're going to have a good intention setting for Diane. She's already off to an incredible start, but we're going to really send some good energy to amplify this. So Diane, can you talk a little bit about what brought you to brain dance?
It's funny because the title, I look at the screen, and I know that Toby and I went back and forth on titles. She's so great at putting things like that together. And many of us in the Thought Leader Academy had some input and say, and we debated every detail. And then it just popped out. It's like, I want something that has 2 syllables, that's very uplifting. It's a science book, it's a personal story, and I want people to dance. this is like, I want people to dance. As an aside, I went to the dentist on a couple days ago, and Friday, and they insisted on creating a reel, and they had a dance party for brain dance. They had the book, and so so and that's what my reviewers said, that it's science, but it reads like a novel. You learn things. And so I wanted to teach people things. I felt like I was very lucky in my recovery, but I got lost too. And I think that a lot of people get lost for a long time uh, in having a brain injury, a concussion, post-concussion syndrome. And that's, it felt like I knew things that people needed to know, that it wasn't the worst accident in the world, the kind we always read about, or it wasn't no accident, it was a moderate concussion. But it changed my life in ways that I could not describe. I'm sure my family will read this book and go, that's what was going on. Because my friend Kay Ferran, when she was editing it, she goes, so that's what was going on with you. I thought you were mad at me. And just because of like how everything changed inside for me when it happened. So I think anyone that's had a head bump or a concussion will get something from it, like that feeling of, it's so that can happen. I mean, brain injuries can take all different shapes and sizes, but I think there are some real touch points that should help people feel a lot less alone, and to give them help and hope when their life feels like it's turned upside down.
Absolutely. And I think there's really having spent most of my career with patients who have not had success in other places, that have been around the block many times before they end up in my office, I think there's a much wider audience for this, even beyond brain injuries and concussions, because it's so emblematic of just like, it's such a universal struggle. Like, so many people fall through the cracks and aren't heard and can't, and have to piece together so many different approaches to really find their solution.
Yes, yes. It does seem like it has a bit of a broader appeal. When and you people that are writers and artists know this, that you work on something and you work in a small group of people and yourself for long hours, and you don't know what it will be like for other people to read it. Even though I was very lucky and had, Kay Ferran did reading on it, and Mary from Sarah's groups, Mary Nellingham and Katie Kinzer, like, and Megan Buckley, they had hands in it, they saw it, but largely it's writing on your own and hoping. But when I had somebody read it who said, send me a hard copy, I can only see a hard copy for something like this. And I get it, it's a whole book. But I sent her a text copy while I was getting the hard copy together, and she started reading it. She goes, this is really good. This is something I can read. So in that sense, I felt like it turned out maybe better than I expected. Kind of like, oh my gosh. So the
That's
reviews have been great.
that's amazing. Can you talk a little bit more about do you want to talk a little bit more about what it's about?
Yes, it's a medical memoir. It gives honest, detailed description of what it's like to go through from the inside an injury of your brain. I think the most vexing part about it is, seeing that if you have an injury like that, you may not know it. That in the same way that, we may want to drive a car when we're not supposed to be, when we don't have that capacity, or you could be injured and not know it. So I think that's, without giving away the story, that's part of the stories. And then it follows me through, my recovery and my teachers, and um and basically a new career. I just want to be on the other side of the white coat, after a couple of years of people putting sensors on my head and to make my brain work better. It's like, I want to be on the other side of this. And then the journey of learning applied neuroscience when you don't like to read books, like that was pretty hard. I remember, reading paragraphs where I had to look up in one paragraph 5 words, but it was really kind of an interesting journey. And then there's a chapter on it's composites. Everything's composites. My clients' identities are totally protected, but typical composites of people that see and how applied neuroscience can make a huge lifetime difference. So I think you'll enjoy it. People say it's funny. I was talking with Ann Latinovich the other day, and she was reading it, and she goes, "So what do you want people to think?" And I go, "That I'm kind of funny." And she goes, "You mean you would write this whole book and want people to think you're funny?" I go, "Yeah, I mean, all the other stuff's kind of a given, right? That it's like that I would be, kind of funny about some of this stuff was funny. You have to laugh. It was just pretty funny, some of it. So
Well, and you make such a good point in the book about how healing humor really, really is. What is your mission and vision for this book?
so my mission is around brain awareness and brain health. I really, we know more about the knee than we know about the brain. Like my husband knows what a meniscus. I learned from him what a meniscus is, and all these muscles that hold and we all kind of can relate to those. But how many people know what their prefrontal cortex is and does? And that's like a pretty darn important thing. Or what it means to your brain if you have no water, or what your brain does when it's sleeping. It washes itself. It's like a wash machine. I mean, how many people know that? If you knew what your brain does when you're sleeping, you would just you would concentrate on being the world's best sleeper, because it makes a huge difference. So that's my mission. That's overall my mission in my work these days, is to help people to understand, to become aware of their brain, and to help them work with it so it can be magnificent. Your magnificent brain.
And what's your vision for the book? What do you aspire
Mm,
to see it do in the world?
I would like to see it help people that feel alone and disconnected and like there's no solutions. I joined a lot of listservs of people who have had brain injuries, and I remember the symptoms that they talk about feeling like they can't drive, or they can't remember things, or how awkward it is in social situations when everything just feels like it's moving fast. So I want to provide a companion connection with those people, and also veterans and women who have been abused, physically abused. If you think about it, someone who's been abused probably has some level of brain trauma. And then people go, well, why don't they leave? And why don't they? And so our expectations are around someone who has a perfect brain who can navigate out of something. And if you have a brain injury, that won't happen, or it certainly won't happen easily. So so my vision for the book is that it reaches those target populations, but also everybody who's interested in the brain, which I think is everybody. And because I think it'll be interesting and fun to read. It reads fast.
It definitely does. And can you share the story of the cover?
Oh, the cover. Melanie's an intuitive. She won't tell you that. She'll just show you. I was near the end of the path of putting the book together, and gratefully, and Melanie sent me a piece of art and said, "This is your cover." And I was like, "No, I'm done. I don't want to look at another thing. Amy Peel's showing the cover." I said, "No, I don't want to fall in love with an artist that I'll never be able to get." And no. And so I looked it up, and I just totally fell in love with the art and the person. I researched him, and he's Vietnamese. He came over with boat people, his family did. And when I was in college, I actually was a Vietnamese tutor which is interesting because, of course, I can't speak Vietnamese, but you ended up telling people it's like, okay, here's what ketchup is, just things that people wouldn't know unless they lived in our culture. I love these people. I loved them. So to me, it was kind of an interesting way that I would find his art and that it would be on my book.
It was so fun to be part of that process. I could see it so clearly when we were talking
Here-
about your cover.
Here's another Melanie thing. I'm telling Melanie, Sarah says I need a host for the launch. And she goes, I know, I had a dream about it last night that I could be a host. It's like, you did what? So I've heard a lot of people say they're intuitive, but Melanie is just like, okay, that's right. I was planning on this. Okay. It's kind of fascinating.
So we're going to show the video, but think of while we're watching the video, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat, or we'll certainly, we can unmute people and you can ask them in person, but I'm going to show this really awesome video that Diane put together.
Cameron,
Or-
Dan, we all did. It's my thank you note.
That was fantastic. Yes, the big claps. Does anybody have questions for Diane? I'm looking.
Hi, this is Mary Schmandel. I'm not sure if it's a question, but well, one question is where to buy the book so that it gets counted in the bestsellers list.
Oh,
Because you said it didn't count somewhere, so I was like, that's not where I want to buy it then.
Oh, actually, I think it already counted. It's so buy it wherever it's convenient, and I'm sure I think there are other lists, but our publisher looked at the Amazon launch bestseller list today, and we targeted 2 categories. But so we have it at the bookstore, the book table in Oak Park. It's right on the shelf. And Barnes and Noble has it, and Amazon has it. I think Barnes and Noble delivers quicker. Oh, great. Thanks, Dan. Yeah. Really
Okay,
excited.
And the other thing, go ahead.
Temporarily, I guess most launches, their Kindle books are $2.99. So if you would like, that's a great deal. That will probably change in a couple days. So.
Okay. The other thing was you mentioned that you have to laugh, and I'm just so happy to hear that. And I know that that's the kind of person you are. And I remember hearing something like, we can laugh or cry, and if it's funny later, it's funny now. So get over it. You know, it's like in the moment, it's horrifying, but later on, you find yourself telling stories about it and laughing. So in that moment, laugh along with it. So I love that too.
Yes.
And congratulations. I'm so happy to be a part of this for you, Diane.
Thank you. You've been great. I feel like I might, yes, weighing in on the cover, and, you know, we had different pictures and Anne's pictures, and it's been really fun. I feel so grateful.
I look forward to it. And this was a brilliant idea to have a book launch on Zoom. Yay.
Thank you.
Diane, I'm going to get this book for my daughter who had a brain injury about 5 years ago. And I think, you know, Andy, I think she's going to really enjoy the book and probably see herself in it as well.
This is Barbara Grauer, everyone.
I'm so happy for you, my dear. We've worked hard together, haven't we, to get this done? Although there are a lot more people than me. And what I'm realizing now is what you were going through, which I didn't even realize. And yet we were together quite a bit, and it was wonderful. But now I know what was going on with you. And I'm so happy to be your friend and just a part of your life. And you and Gary need to come down to Sarasota and see me again.
Now that we're vaccinated, yes, and you are. Yeah, I just feel incredibly lucky to be your friend too. But I think a lot of people will read it and go, I had no idea. Yeah, it's not like I was telling one person. I couldn't talk about it. There weren't any words to describe it. There just weren't. And I mean, in writing it, that's what I had to do, was find the words. Kay would ask me all these really annoying and hard questions, like, how did you feel about that? What happened after this? And I would just be like, I don't know. and look in calendars and, you know, talk to Gary. And it was a very interesting experience to write it. But yeah, thank you, Barbara.
Did Gary feel that you explained your position from the inside and it matched his observation from the outside?
Yes. We did a lot of comparing. It was like, I don't remember this, or what happened with this, or we would look at pictures going, it was a process but I'm glad I had him during it and during the writing. He's also a writer, so he read first drafts of everything. I'm extremely grateful to have a husband that's an editor. Yes.
How many books did you have manufactured for the first run?
It's a print on demand. So I don't know. It's our, so I don't know. It's kind of fascinating.
I wonder what they started with, how many they started with.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Today's the very first day. My publisher is ecstatic, if that matters. I mean, he's like sending me things and oh my gosh.
Wonderful. Because
And a
it's
lot of people,
wonderful
yeah,
book.
I'm getting notes from people like, oh my gosh, I read this. Uh, and I've started to read it. So that's nice. I mean, you really hope that if your friends don't like it, they would just feel like, not like they had to say something, but I think it is kind of an appealing book that it's easy to digest. At least that's what people tell me.
It's like having a conversation with you, reading that book.
Yes. Is it? Yeah, that's how it feels to
How
me.
I
That's
felt about it, yes.
Is it going to be used for educational purposes?
I'm really hoping so. I'm hoping to get to some of the foundations that help people and also educators. Sarah Gray, Dr. Sarah Gray, who's at Harvard Medical School, and Ina Kazan, they both said, clinicians should read this, students should read this, the general public should read this. So I'm hoping that's, I'm hoping.
You are a hopeful person.
Here's hoping. I think creativity's bigger than all of us. So I wonder where that's doing.
Susan.
Susan Black.
Sometimes if you,
That should do it.
okay.
No, I mean, I feel like it creative, it's like I'm in partnership with somebody bigger than me that
Yeah.
is, I have a higher power.
Well, we're certainly very proud of you for
Thank you.
finishing this book in such a relatively short time for the extensive work you've done on it.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it was the nudge to, Barbara just kept asking me like, when is it coming out? When will it be? And it's like, I have no idea. I can't imagine approaching a publisher during this storm of a pandemic, but providing the funding for it meant that I could just find the best publisher and purchase that service. So it made a world of difference. It meant that I had to do it. And that was like, well, that was your goal. I think it was like feet to the fire. No excuses, Diane.
Nudge, Diane. A little nudge. And look what happened. A beautiful book.
Thank you.
Hey, Diane,
Yes.
can you hear me now?
Gordon. Yeah.
I'm wondering if you can make any comparison to your experience writing your first book, or if the time interval in between was too much and you don't really have much to say about that.
It's interesting. The first book I wrote in, let's see, like 6 weeks. I did 60% of it, and then it went very fast. And this is, I tried to calibrate it during it, and I figured this was 8 times as hard. And because it was like science and in being exacting around the science, but also being really honest with the story, wherever that took. I mean, I had some, and not in this group of people I've mentioned, but I had people read it and go, oh, you should amplify this. That would make a great story. And it was like, I was committed to the emotional truth. And I think that's why it appeals to people, because it's just really honest. I mean, names have been changed and I fabricated things to make a parallel of something that happened, all of that. but it's very honest. And so it was kind of a interesting combination of experience, kind of like Zenaria is writing a book on being a medical student that feels kind of similar, like there are facts, but there's just the dead honest truth that you want to convey, that I think that's what touches people. That's what makes it worth doing.
How did your idea, Diane? I know you've been putting this together for a long time, and I've heard you over the years, you know, talking about it. So when you had your initial idea, and then you were part of many groups that gave you guidance and feedback, you know, what evolved or what changed from the original idea, or did it change a lot? Or talk about the process a little bit.
Yeah, I think I tried. It wasn't until I went into Sarah's class in 2018, February of 2018, that I felt like I really was in earnest of writing this. And just Sarah Connell is a writing teacher for you people who don't know her. And I started out with something that was like 7 days to get back into writing, and then 12 weeks to write a book. And when I did that, in the process of that, I looked and I had all these little folders that was like my next book, little conferences that I went to. And so I felt like I hadn't really started until I started that. And then the class was 12 weeks. And the first 8 weeks I procrastinated, like I'm just, didn't do anything. And then so I had no idea what I was doing previous to 2018 and starting that. It was a process that really took a lot from me emotionally. And that was not a commitment that I had made to it prior to that. And it's kind of hard to do that, because I mean, as a psychotherapist and a coach, I do neurofeedback. I love my work. I love my patients, and they take a lot of my headspace. And so to balance those things in, I needed a lot of structure from the outside, people like, Renee and, all my action partners and my, the pod I'm in, Amy Peel and Takari. Like I need all these people going, how's your writing? How's your writing? It's like as an artist, it's maybe that connects. I think that probably does connect, but yeah, it's sort of an immersion that's hard to do. So,
Diane,
other questions? Yeah.
if we pre-ordered the book through PayPal, does it get sent to us, and when does that?
Yeah, this is Ellie Sharp. Say hi to Ellie.
Hi.
I promised Ellie Christine had an event, and Ellie came up to me and she said, I want to buy the first copy of your book. And it was like,
signed.
Yeah. What? Yeah, anyone that's signed. So my publisher didn't do pre-orders. And so I had to set up a site so that people could pre-order. And this was not easy, Ellie. This was so that you could buy the first book. And so you bought the first book.
Oh, wow.
So that means I'm going to take you and Mark's book over like someday and leave them on your porch or knock on your door because they didn't do pre-orders, and it wasn't set up until you couldn't buy the book until like a week ago, and then you wouldn't have had it signed. So I know that sounds really crazy, but that's what I did.
It's absolutely fine. I was just curious.
It felt like a commitment though.
I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah. Oh no, I've been thinking about you a lot. And Gary was going today, like, can I bring him over now? Can I bring him over now? And one other thing would happen, like, our Eventbrite wouldn't work or something. So thanks for asking.
Okay, sure.
Hi, Diane. It's Kevin Barheit. How are you?
Hi,
Good to see
Kevin.
you. Yeah, I'm here. I'm going to put up, I found a little icon I can put up on my screen. So there's my happy dance for you right there. I put the little happy dance. I don't know if you can see it. I just figured out how to do that in Zoom. So I have just a quick comment, then a quick question, and maybe another question, but I know that you love to dance, so I had to find that. And I admire, I can't dance well, but I love to dance. And I guess my favorite part of the book was really personally when you passed the test, of course, right? When you passed that test.
Yeah.
And you and your husband do the happy dance. That's why I keep thinking of the dancing.
Yes.
But the chapter, that whole chapter, the dragon show, it really speaks to me of this doubt that comes in. These really misunderstanding of what's happening to ourselves. And it's like these self-imposed limitations that come from our fears, right? And sometimes these false perceptions of our abilities, lack of abilities, limitations, lack of limitations. So I just wanted to make that was more of a comment that really spoke to me over and over. And I kept saying, oh, that's why I'm reading this book. There's always something in a book where you say, I get it. It's a great, it's wonderfully written. I know the author, so I'm excited to read it. But then there's a part of it when you say, oh, that's why I read this. So I can start to think. One of the things short question, which is, are you going to do a post-pandemic tour? Are you going to, I know I would love to see
I hope so.
I would love to see that. And the real bigger question is this. I think of brain injuries, and I think of, some of the issues I've had in my life, and they were specific to certain kinds of neuro damage, neurological damage. But I also realized that, as my mother's 92, and I'm watching her age, and I'm watching certain things happen with our brains. And I realize that our brains are never whole, even though we think our brains are perfect at some point. They're always changing, whether we've got a concussion or we're aging or we have other neurological changes that happen over the years. And I think that your book really called to me in that level of acceptance of the changes, rather than calling it a brain damage. It's a brain change. And sometimes we heal, sometimes we heal fully, sometimes we seem to have masterful control over our lives, and sometimes we're very limited. But I wanted to ask you about that. Is there a real understanding, I guess, of brain injury in that it's a brain change, and that is, I think it's more somewhat akin to aging in my mind, where we'd think, there's all these changes. That's my question.
Oh, okay. So good question. By the way, this is my friend Kevin, and he's also went to a writing conference that I went to in Boston, Harvard Writers, and it's like a brother. We're Twitter friends, and just like the most supportive person in the world. I'm just here to tell you that Barbara Grauer is probably brighter than any person in this screen. And she is, how old are you, Barbara? 91? So it's like, I don't know. And so I think that brain change is a good way of looking at it. It takes, I hate the word brain damage. That's just so awful. Neuroplasticity means that we can change our brain. And so it used to be that when people were brain damaged. And I think that's part of the message of the book, that neuroplasticity means that, if we're aware of our brain, we can make a huge difference. Huge difference. I feel like I have some abilities that I didn't have before, and I feel like I have some challenges. And I also train a lot. I watch what I eat. I exercise. I drink water. I sleep. I'm serious about sleep. So I am, so I don't know. I mean, they are brain changes, but people can have brain changes from bad nutrition. Gluten, brain fog can feel like any brain damage, any impairment. So we have a lot to learn about this. It's a great question. And I think that's what we are learning. And the book goes into that, like about how concussion, how to heal a concussion and the factors that go into it. And then also we have a workshop coming up on the neuroscience advantage and about sleep, which is my obsession, and other factors that really play into how our brain works.
someone can put up a link to that workshop, that'd be great. Love to check that out.
One of the things we were doing was if you purchase a book and you put a picture of yourself holding the book or a receipt, and if you're the first person in your state, I get this idea from Amy Peel that we give a gift, and the gift is to go to that workshop free. So and it's in June. So yeah, we can put a link up to the workshop, and then also if you want to share, that was kind of fun. Amy did that when she released her medical mystery called Match. She had all these people from all these different states, and her husband's a glass blower, and they sent a gift out to every person. So I'm copying her.
I already posted my picture up, so hopefully I'm the first in New York.
Every great idea I have comes from Amy Peel or Sarah.
That's great. I know. I saw Lisa had a question earlier, and then we've got one in the chat too,
Okay,
and we're going to
great.
have to wrap up the questions in a minute here.
Okay, great. Lisa.
Hi, Diane.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi. I was just going to mention your first book was translated into, I think, Mandarin. And I wondered if you were going to try to have this one translated internationally too. I mean, eventually, I hope.
It's so exciting. I don't know. That sounds great. I had a note today from somebody who's a filmmaker who's interested in working with this story on it. It's like, it just feels like a really exciting day. Honestly, it's
oh, that's incredibly exciting. Well, and hold that thought of the translating the languages, because we're going to pull that in at the end. And then last question, Gary wanted you to talk a little bit about presenting at the Harvard conference.
Oh, oh my gosh, what can I say? My friends that were, so Mary Nellingham, who's an excellent editor, said, you have to write about that. And I go, it was a conference. I just went to a conference. She goes, you have to write about it. And so then I just wrote about, what it was like to do that. So anyway, I presented my idea to 350 physicians and publishers and agents. And I'm of the mind that we all have this inner fierceness that the job of a coach or life or, a good teacher is to get to that inner fierceness. And I did that. And it actually went very well. And that still surprises me. So, yeah, just kind of getting to the inner fierceness. Other questions or comments?
Go ahead.
Well, do you expect?
Zenaria.
Oh,
yes.
Sorry.
Hi.
Someone.
Do you expect to use this book to educate football players, for instance, and other people that are likely to get head injuries?
Yes, and also they're caretakers like Gary, people that notice the changes and feel really helpless to understand, like, who is this person I'm with? Who is this person? And just more knowledge is so important in watching other people change, their brain changes around that we're around. Yeah, that's a great idea. So we're looking to isolate foundations and then probably do some fundraising around how to donate or, put those books in the hands of people that will make a huge difference. Our teacher in Thought Leader Academy is that books can save a life. And I really believe that if people understand what's going on with them and see the tools, then they're more powerful. That can save a life.
Good idea.
All right, Zenaria.
Question: Are you working on your next project? And if so, what is it?
This is Zenaria Williams, one of my action partner friends, who's also writing her own book and who has written op-eds for really cool newspapers. And I started a folder with new ideas. Honestly, I really love the sharing of it, but I love the writing the best. It's just makes me really happy. As from someone, can I share how you wrote on your book this summer? Do you mind? And yeah, I mean, just, yeah, in your car, right? She's a ocular physician, she's a surgeon. And so she was in her car after dropping her kids off because all the coffee houses are closed. You live in New York, New Jersey. And like, isn't like we writers are, we're, you know, kind of a dedicated lot. That was very inspiring to me. It's helpful to me to know like really inspiring people, people that like Michelle and Christine and Melanie, you people that, you know, you're excelling, you're putting your heart into things. And I just love that. Feeds me.
All right. Well, we're going to do a little closing ritual here if everybody's ready for that. Does anyone
Thanks,
have
everyone.
Yeah. Does anyone have a burning question that they need to ask, or we're good for?
I just want to congratulate you on your possible film deal.
It's totally.
I predicted
it. You did. That's what, this is my cousin. We call each other cousins. This is the family member that I feel most similar to. We discovered each other in the process of, I met her brother on Twitter, and I'm the only person in my family who's a writer. Celeste is the only person in the family who's a writer, and she's written several books, and she writes on leadership, and I coach leaders, and I think we look alike. But so this is Celeste Grimard. Who knew I had a cousin? I discovered her in the process of writing my book. I think that's like amazing. And she read it and found some things I needed to change, and it was just really wonderful. But I'm sorry, Celeste, what did I answer your question? That
Oh yes, you certainly did. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do a little closing ritual. And I'm going to integrate a little bit of my vagus nerve work into this. And your vagus nerve is your what gives you grace under pressure, calm, rest, and digest. And it's a great tool, physical part of the body to really tap into for manifesting what you want as well. And so it's a good combination of science and magic. And there's an Andean proverb that says your future is behind you, propelling you forward, and your past is in front of you, waiting for you to make peace with it and clear your way. So we're going to help Diane move her future forward. And what I would like everybody to do is have an image of Diane and or the brain dance book circling the world. It's going circling the continents, going through the cities, towns, countries at all levels through the world. So we're just going to hold that image. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go through a little bit of storytelling, and then we'll do the exercise. What really moved me about this book was how it was using all sorts of different interventions to make the whole. And as I'm writing my book, and I have worked with people over the years, I talk a lot about the Osiris wound. And in the ancient Egyptian myth of Isis and Osiris, Osiris was the king of Egypt, and his brother Set was jealous and angry and wanted to be king. And so Set tricked Osiris into laying down in a bejeweled coffin, had his soldiers close the lid, nail it, and carry him to the Nile River to send him downstream to his death. Osiris's wife Isis found out about this and went and found his body, took him to a cave, and breathed new life back into him. Set found out about this and chopped his body into pieces. He tracked down Osiris, severed his body into multiple pieces, and scattered those pieces down the Nile River. Isis again went and retrieved all of those pieces. She put Osiris back together, brought him back to life long enough to conceive their divine child Horus. And then Osiris went on to be king of the underworld, which for the Egyptians was where all life came from and all treasures were found. And if you think about being in that story, outside of Set's inner circle, everybody probably thought Osiris's destiny was to be the king of Egypt. But his true destiny was to be the king of the underworld. And he literally had to come apart to come back together in a new way. And that's something that we all go through. And I love how Diane took these this wide array of interventions and brought them together to be a whole. I think medicine as an institution has a significant Osiris wound of its own. And I love seeing people that are bringing that together for medicine as well. If you go back a couple generations in that story, you get to Atum, who is the Egyptian creation god, and the cardinal directions are called knowledge, wisdom, magic, and truth. And so we bring knowledge from above into wisdom below. And Diane's brought the knowledge of this book into such wisdom through her writing. And she has brought the magic of it from behind her to show up as truth in front of us as this book. And so what I'd like everybody to do is to cross their ankles with the left one in front of their right. And then take your right hand and put it on the outside of your left thigh. And if you have a limitation or pain, you don't have to do this. You could just sit comfortably and do the breath part. And take your left hand and put it behind your head if you're able to do that. And what I'm going to ask everybody to do is breathe into the back side of their heart. I want you to inhale into the back side of your heart. And I want you to imagine that image of brain dance going around the world. It's right there behind your heart, and you're breathing into it. And then you're going to exhale it through your heart out in front. And so go ahead and continue to do that. You can inhale into the backside of your heart and connect with that image. And then exhale it from magic into truth in front of you. We'll do one more breath like that. And then bring your hands in front of you. And I want you to collect all of that magic that you've turned into truth into a little energy ball here. All that image of Diane's book going around the world, being translated into many languages. And what we're all going to, on the count of 3, we're all going to release that ball. We're going to throw it out into the world. 1, 2, 3. And so it is. Thank you all for attending tonight. And thank you, Diane, for this amazing book, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, congratulations, Diane.
Congratulations. Well done. Well done.
Thank
Congratulations,
you.
Diane.
Thank you so much.
Good job, Diane. You look fabulous. You're glowing. It's just infectious. You did such an amazing job.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Diane, you've assembled such a lovely group of people. I want to have appetizers at your house with all of these incredible people and meet them.
I know, another time. Yes.
Okay, we will all be back together to do something special like that for you. Congrats.
Yeah. Thank you so much.